Looks like we're live. Dun, 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 dun. This is Sue Greenwald with Awaken Stories here today again with Cassiopeia and Brittany. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, we're good.
Doing good.
Oh, we're good. We're good. Hey, we're here. That's the main thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like we
Team
were
Smarty
just
just
saying.
reminded me of that too.
Yep. It is the main thing. We are still here. We're still perky. We're still moving forward. And, the truth has still got to get out there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So we're working on that. So we had talked a couple weeks ago about DID. Okay, golly, and why do they have to change the names of things? You know what I mean? Like they do that with everything, it seems, right? You get used to UFO, then they got to change it to UAP. Same thing. Why do we have to change it? Because it's confusing, right?
Covers it up from one generation to the next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they make it seem like things are changing or getting better when they're actually staying status quo, pretty much the same.
Or
And it
getting
allows history
worse.
to repeat more easy.
Or getting
Yeah.
worse. Yeah, like you said, are getting worse.
Or
Because
getting worse.
you just change the name and it looks like you've upgraded and updated and there's new information, but there isn't.
When you change the name and you research the old name, you don't find the data or whatever. And then you're like, oh, well, must be it's dying down or whatever, right? That's the
Yep.
way I think they think we think. And of course, most of their AI systems and their research systems are controlled and erroneous. All right.
Yep.
So you go to research anything on like, Wikipedia is like the top one that comes up and you read the article or whatever, it's whatever they want you to know,
Oh
right?
yeah, you can go into Wikipedia Tea House and sign up to be an editor and you can edit Wikipedia all day long.
Yeah,
Regular people just edit
yeah,
Wikipedia.
yeah. And if you don't know enough that there are some false things in there, you're going to use that as fact. And that's how false things become fact after a while. That's what we believe because repetition, right? Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Ritualistic, isn't it?
So let's talk about DID and what that is, like a summary version, as long as you want to talk about it. But what was that or what is that? And then we had talked a little bit about that before where we had to go. And then we had talked about like how you're like coping with it, if you will.
You want to do the what is DID?
No, you can
You
this
want me to
time.
do it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did last time.
Used to be called multiple personality disorder since we're talking about the name changes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Uh, Defined in every diagnostic manual as two or more distinct, unique personalities with different life stories, memory bases, and behaviors. Now it's called dissociative identity disorder. Good Lord. I don't have the condensed version of what that is. It is a manufactured disorder created by extreme trauma that fractures the mind of a person under the age of 10 using extreme terror, torture, and violence by placing a child in an environment where they recognize nothing around them, fractures their consciousness, separates their consciousness from their body. They have a complete and total out of body experience. They use that child while their consciousness is out of their body. They use the body for whatever purpose they want, therefore creating an altar in the body. And then when the ritual is done, the consciousness comes back. And when the rejoining happens, the child is then unaware of what took place and they move on.
Right.
They
Right.
do that repeatedly, and however many times they create those altars is however many altered states of consciousness that child is going to walk around in.
And you can switch in and out of personality or consciousness, if you will.
It's
Um,
emotional state dependent memory.
Yeah.
right.
It's formed in each altar is formed in a different emotional state. And so they're called back or triggered, or you're switched into that altar based on the emotional state that you're in.
So question, is creating DID or multiple personalities the same as MK Ultra? Is it the same process?
No, they go hand in hand though. You can't use MK Ultra without a dissociative state, and you can't put in MK Ultra programming without DID. You have to remove the consciousness from the body to put in MK Ultra
Right.
coding, because the coding goes into the body, not the consciousness.
Thank you for explaining that.
So they're not the same. MK Ultra is mind control programming through coercion, persuasion,
Yeah.
emotional manipulation,
Yeah.
and the coding that's at its base is a series of names or numbers,
Okay.
proper nouns,
Yeah.
people, place, and thing. Names or numbers are recall codes to recall that emotional state or that alter later. Those things are put into the body after the consciousness is removed. Then when the consciousness is put back, that is the veil or the filter that makes it where the person has no idea that was there.
Right.
Creates an amnesic wall.
Yep.
So then those parts of the brain, because it's a fractured off part of your brain, like there's a physical fracture in, like on the brain if you got a scan done. So
Yes.
that part of the brain is unable to communicate with the other part of the brain. So that creates an amnesic wall.
The electricity can't flow in between them smoothly. And when the consciousness is removed from the body, the MK Ultra and the crap is put in, the ultra is made, and consciousness put back, that is the amnesic wall.
Okay. Interesting. Not in a good way. I mean, it's
No,
something we
but
should
it's,
know about, though.
yeah.
Right?
That's why so many people wake up, they call it waking up to
Yeah.
things they, or
They don't
memories
remember.
they couldn't access their whole life. They wake
Right.
up at 30, 40, 50 years old and realize that all these things had taken place that they didn't puzzle piece together or made no sense to them before.
Right.
Things all of a
Mhm.
sudden make sense. Those amnesic walls start coming down.
Right.
And
I think
DID is
this.
important for everyone to know about because the fractures take place in the adolescent years when the mind is still growing. So it's happening to children that are 10 and younger.
Yes.
So the trauma happens in the developmental years. That's when you are the most vulnerable and they can put in those programs easier.
Right. Right.
So for people to be aware of what DID is and know the signs, they're able to catch it sooner because right now people are not diagnosed with DID typically until they're 30 or older. So look at the amount of time and trauma they were holding and going through without help. So
Okay.
if we start seeing the signs sooner, we can start helping younger children.
Hell, if they're not diagnosed till they're 30 or 40 years old, look how many years these people can use them.
Exactly.
Right. That's why I just stuck with the trauma.
It's also said that the older you are, the easier it is for the memories to come back. Like the programming starts to fail, if you will. Do you agree with that?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Just
Mhm.
curious. Just
I don't
curious.
know.
All right. So it's an emotional trigger. And so something will happen, in your life, fabricated, real, whatever, and then you may go into a different state and not even know it. You may have different experiences. Like you've told us a few stories where you've been called to do this or that, and you've just been, it's almost like you're powerless to resist that. Is
Correct.
that how it works?
Yep.
Yeah.
Unhealed. Absolutely. Unhealed. It takes the awareness to break down the programming. That's what
Okay.
starts breaking it down. You have to be aware of when it was made, where it was born, what caused it, who caused it, the purpose, its goal, every behavior it causes, every response it causes, and then catch every single one of them.
Okay.
It's
So
hard.
So basically, if you're not consciously aware when this has happened to you as a child, you're not consciously aware of it. How can you go back to heal that specific issue? It seems it's almost like a paradox.
That would be like finding altars, right? Like
Yeah, I'm just
the
trying to
DID
understand the
trauma.
question better to be able to answer it because I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
answer it.
Okay, so all right.
Like how would we
So if the
what
child is unaware
Yeah,
when the alter is made,
right.
right? If the
Yeah,
amnesia wall makes them then unaware of it.
yeah.
how do they 40 years later then go back and heal it?
Yeah.
Well, because potentially what you were saying earlier, which I'm not aware, is like through, which I'm not aware if that's a thing, but as you get older or as time goes by, it becomes easier for those amnesia walls to come down. That's
Yeah.
possible. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I do know how it was done with us. Uh, things would trigger it
Yeah.
forcefully. Something would trigger one of those altars and they would come forward. And I had been unaware of that altar or had no access to it for 20, 30, 40 years. And it would come forward. And Brittany would recognize a change in behavior before me. We've taken notes every day for everything. So after a while, I would be able to notice the changes in behavior myself. And
Okay.
it's in the awareness of the behavior
Right.
changes. And then you sit down and it's a process, but you sit down and start looking at those behaviors that are
Right.
unlike you. For myself, I would be behaving in a way that's not
Right.
like me.
Right.
And
Right.
so I would sit down with Brittany. We've done it with therapists, we've done it with many, and go over these behaviors, the new behaviors, and you start asking why, where is that coming from? And you have conversations about it, you keep looking, and you'll trace it back. Each piece, sometimes sometimes we've been able to do it in one day and get all the way back to that altar. And sometimes it takes weeks.
Years.
For
Like I
years.
had said before, um, alters would pop forward, give me little bits and pieces of information, and I would hold on to those pieces of information for months or years until they would pop forward again and tell me more again, tell me the story again, but with
Right.
more details and more things. I
Yeah.
could talk to them more and ask more questions
Okay.
when that alter would come forward, depending on how comfortable they were or how safe they felt or what was going on. Because that is also why it's important for someone with the idea to have a constant to be able to keep record of what has been going on, what alters have been coming forward,
Right.
what they've been talking about. Because then when they switch out of that altar into another one, you can talk to the other altar about what the first one just told you, and then they can start communicating. Like that also helps them start identifying, like,
Right.
With each other.
right.
Right.
Because life, okay? Because we need to show you a little situation. Let's say today, and we haven't had a new altar come forward in a long time, but if it were, okay, so a new altar pop forward, if one did today, it would be triggered by an emotional state. So something would happen. Maybe a person calls with a crisis phone call, a situation, and they mention something about, I'll use our news from Eufaula the other day.
Mhm.
We get a phone call or we get information that there was a child found dismembered and burned. Okay, well, I dealt with that as a child, and I have an altar who witnessed dismembering and my friend being burned in front of me alive. So that altar, if I had not had access to it, okay, and we had that phone call, the conversation about that person being found 3 days ago, dismembered and burned, would have triggered that emotional state for me. It's emotional state dependent memory. So the conversation of dismemberment and burning would have triggered the memory in my mind in the way back that I had not had access to for a long time about dismemberment and burning. And a tiny window would have been opened into that altar. And that altar would have come forward on me without my choice and been there. Now I would have remained in that altar, brand new. Brittany's going to recognize a change in behavior because I'm going to respond all of a sudden to the conversation about dismemberment and burning way different than I have ever responded to other conversations. And Brittany and I get our hands dirty all the time. So it isn't the vile or the intensity of the conversation, it's a massive difference in change in behavior.
Okay.
She'll notice it before me, and then she'll take note of it that I pissed my pants as soon as the conversation came up, but yet I kept talking and didn't notice. And that's real. Or I immediately threw up, or I started crying and talking about my grown kids when that wasn't the conversation we were in. She will note the change. Then I'll stay in that altar, but if another phone call comes and it's talking about what's for dinner tonight, babe. Different emotional state of memory. So now I will switch out into that altar.
Right.
And Brittany now loses the opportunity to ask any further questions. And so those notes that she took about the change in behavior sit there until the next time at random that altar is triggered forward again. So through time, she can put those pieces together. Hey, every time these handful of things are mentioned or brought up or put in our face, we get this bitch right here that responds exactly like this. Here's your behaviors. And
Right.
then we can look at them and I can start to recognize it myself, the feelings and the memories, they'll go together. And then I have access to that altar. Going forward, I'm aware of that altar permanently. And then every other altar I've already become aware of is now also aware of that part of me. And we move forward.
So Brittany does take notes. That was my first question. You do take detailed notes, and of course you remember things, but it always helps to have the
No,
specifics. You don't.
no, I
What?
don't write. No,
I usually take the notes. Brittany does take notes, but she's recorded everything for 5 years.
Oh,
yep.
on your phone
Uh,
or whatever.
I don't write things down. In the very beginning, I had no idea what we were doing or that I was doing anything important at all. Like I just learned on the fly, okay? Like I had no idea. So I never wrote anything down. I just remembered all of it.
Yeah.
But then when we were public and forward, I started recording. I had recording devices on me all the time because then I could record her switches and then we could play them back. Like she could hear herself. And then she was also aware of the vocal changes or attitude changes, like anything like that. Like the auditory part of it also would help.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. So
So I
then
did
you
more
put two and two
recording.
together, but I guess here's like my brain is thinking of a loophole. Okay, what if you took one of these altars and asked it questions? How were you created? How many of the other ones are there? Blah, blah, blah. How do I get rid of them? And, we make a list. Like, is there a way to do that so that there's a shortcut to learning what has to be done for healing purposes? Do you know what I'm trying to say here? Um,
Sort of. Yes, I can answer it in parts. Um, every single part of me is an altar, first off. And every person with DID is unique.
No.
That is important for the whole world to know.
okay,
DID by diagnostic classification is simply two or more distinct, unique personalities in one person.
And like we had discussed before, there's polyfragmented DID and micropolyfragmented DID. So
Yes.
polyfragmented DID is, I believe, 50 plus,
Yep.
and then micropolyfragmentation is 100 or more alters.
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
okay,
So there's DID, which is anything from 2 to 50. Then
okay,
there's polyfragmented 50 to 100, micropolyfragmented 100 and up.
wow,
And the distinction is important. So everybody's DID is different. If you had a person with 10 alters, then what you asked would be reasonable to do
yeah,
in
yeah,
any normal amount of time. The rest of it is because of my personal, how my system is.
right,
We've had the MRIs and MRAs and seen the fractured lines. So there wasn't any part of my brain or mind not fractured, including the stem. So all of me is alters, if that makes sense. A lot of people, the idea of a large part of their brain did not get fractured off. The rest did. So they would have splinters and a core.
Are you telling me that ulcers will have a physical, like there is a physical barrier in the brain, like
It's not a
created?
barrier. There's a mucosal layer between the brain and the
Okay,
skull. And when you have an MRA, which is like an MRI of your brain and head, if you have a
yeah.
specialized one, you can see all the little fractures. Uh, it's caused by electricity. Somebody with a higher degree.
Oh, there we go.
Your husband's messing with electrical today. You did say that
You
yesterday.
just,
All of our lights just went out. If you didn't,
you just
are we
went,
back?
yeah, you just,
Oh,
there you go. All right.
There we go.
he might have cut our Wi-Fi.
Can you tell him to stop?
I'm gonna go call him. Like, what are you doing?
Brittany's gonna step
Well,
out so our power doesn't get cut
you
again.
know, people do, like, I was talking with someone today to do a video and we got cut off and it's on purpose.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I agree.
It's on
Yeah.
purpose. So,
So
so my,
yes, you can see the fractures. Okay, the fractures are not in the brain tissue itself, and somebody way smarter than me, brain doctor, would have to explain it. My neurologist and the nuclear medicine doctor explained it to Brittany and me and my husband with the cool pictures up on the screen of this MR specialized MRA. You can see the fractures in the mucosal layer, and they coordinate
mm,
with the different parts of the brain. So where the fear center of your brain is, in the mucosal layer above it, I have looks like if you had an old fracture of your arm from 30 years ago and you can still see it on an x-ray, you see a shadowed line in a circle over the fear center of my brain. So it's where a fracture was placed
okay.
so they could control and alter over a specific part of your brain. Each part of your brain controls a different part of your body or your functioning. Okay. And it's emotional state dependent. So they would evoke fear to fracture that one. If they wanted to fracture, which they did, the part of me that does math, they would have put me in a room filled with math. And that sounds weird, but we're talking floor to ceiling math equations, anything mathematical visually. They would have spoken to me only in binary code and mathematical code. They would have spoken to me in the frequency of binary. And then they would have made sure my heartbeat, the number of men that raped me, the number of minutes in between would have been mathematical. And then it fractures off the math portion of your brain
Numerology.
to control
Wow.
for math
Wow.
purposes. If they wanted to recall or fracture off short-term memory, same thing. They would put me in a room in which everything around me, all four walls, ceiling, all the people, their costumes, their masks, their language, everything in the room is full role play to the fullest extent that people haven't imagined in their wildest, wettest dreams. These guys got it down. We're talking, these are people, humans, very high ranking. They got a lot of money. My grandfather with some aliens and some people that aren't from here all together doing a ritual. They cohabitate. So it would have been mathematical. They surround you. If they want joy, they're going to surround you with joy while breaking you, while breaking you. If they want to control whatever, that's what they do. They surround a kid visually with everything involved. It's role play to the fullest.
Right.
And then
Okay.
they remove your consciousness, place the coding, and put you back.
Okay.
Next.
I guess, I was always under the impression with multiple personality disorder, which is what I learned about way back when.
Right.
I did not realize that there was like a physical trace of it. I just thought it was all in the consciousness, I guess. It's very
Well, they
interesting.
placed it forever. They placed it in the diagnostic manual for mental illness on purpose. After the OSS and the CIA created MK Ultra and DID, because they are the ones that created the fracturing in the mind. The studies is what showed and taught them that they could fracture the mind.
Right.
And then the experiments and studies that they did on all of us kids is what showed them that how they could fracture each individual
Right.
part of the mind on
Right.
purpose and control it. And then, dude, it's weird, but like you mix in like old witchcraft and ancient rite because it's unto thee the laws of three. All right. Now that works both good and bad. It's unto thee the laws of three, no harm done. That's very real. You're speaking the sound that comes out of your face when you say that sentence does something. But they use that as they figured it out. They reverse engineer this shit. So they know they remove your consciousness from your body and then they just say Emily, Margaret, Peter, and they say it 3 times, put your consciousness back. They can recall you with it 3 times, with just that little pattern later. These are fucked
Yeah.
up individuals. They've
I
known all this stuff forever and they put it as a mental illness so they can bury it in doo.
They can
You're just
lock you
crazy.
away if they choose to. That's why.
Oh
Right.
shit, yeah. You go tell somebody that
Yeah.
you got a phone call where somebody spoke really fast and made you go to Texas because they called your codes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, we've done it, y'all. Spend 5 years calling everybody in human history. Bring documents. Hell, bring eyewitnesses with you. We did. We brought photos and audio and video. Hell, we showed them my child porn with the people in the background. They still won't listen to you that it's a real thing.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we've brought the programmers with us.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Not
Yeah, no,
interesting.
and there's actual physical tracers. You have to have specialized tests and you can see them. They look like shadow fractures over the mucosal layer in your brain.
I also think that this is much older than we give, we're saying, okay, because I know you're not that old, but like we think, oh, it's only maybe 50, 100 years old. Oh no, they've been doing this a long time. They've perfected it, right?
Of course they
It's
do.
just been done in secret.
Well, they wouldn't be able to do it in secret if they had not perfected it.
Yeah. So they've had a supply of children to do this to over the course of a long time, and
Oh, yeah.
To use
horrible.
them during wartime, countries against countries as spies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it was created for.
Yeah.
Like President Truman actually signed that in as the finders for the CIA, FBI back then when they
Yeah, to
changed
be
it from the
able to use
OSS.
children in wartime.
Yeah.
And
So welcome to the Truman Show. Like they literally show you what they have been doing the whole time.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
started with President Truman, the use of the children.
well, over here it did.
Right here.
That you know of. I
Over
mean,
here it did, yeah.
yeah, it could be
Yeah,
much
because
older.
from
Yeah.
it goes back even further. Like you go back to the orphan trains. Where do you think the children here came from? The
Yep.
orphan trains that came from
Yep.
over there. So it was over there.
Yep.
You can look throughout history and still find it.
And
Yep.
then you get to the point where you realize that they've been controlling history, every book, every narrative, every
Yep.
tale, every story,
Every story, everything we've been taught.
everything. And
Yeah.
then you go, well, hell, how do you know what's real?
Yeah.
Well, you get to that point where you can only rely on what you saw with your own eyes and felt with your own body and what the hell you know is real.
And look, we're creating a generation where they go to Wikipedia and they read it and they believe that, right? Because no discernment. Or a video or this or that, there's no discernment. And so they believe whatever they're told anymore. There's no critical thinking. So, all right, so let's define then a constant. We had talked about when we left off last episode, a couple weeks ago, we had talked about we were going to talk about that. Can you define what that is? And Brittany, and you're the constant in this case. Can you kind of
You're
tell
up.
us? You're up, Brittany.
Well, I've never actually described it. I mean,
I know.
someone that's constantly with you.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
like someone that's paying attention to the
yeah.
changes and what's going on,
Okay.
taking note. Like someone that's not gonna lie to you because that could also put you in a dangerous position. Like you have to be able to trust whoever is going to be constant in your life.
Right.
And it
Right.
could be
Okay.
more than one person. You could have more than one constant. Like you could have someone that is constant for a doctor's appointment, or you could have
Right.
someone that's constant for, different situations in life.
Right. Okay.
At its
So, but
most,
it's, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
it's all right. At its most basic, I have to use myself. My ears are going to pop like crazy. Every time I would dissociate into the past or dissociate into the future or dissociate into a different dimension or dissociate to a different plane, a different place,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're surrounded by things you recognize nothing. A constant is something that remains and doesn't change that you do recognize. Brittany has been my constant because she's around
Right.
enough, long enough in my life that anytime I switch and a new altar fronts, there's at least something we recognize.
Right.
We recognize her. I I might
Even
have
if she
just
doesn't
switched.
remember what I look like, she knows what I sound like.
Yeah. She's been around for 10 plus years and doesn't
Well,
hurt me and stays. I recognize her, even if I don't recognize the environment I'm in. Because if I switch, which I have in the past, when I would switch and I hadn't been here since 2012, and now I was in 2024.
right.
I didn't recognize the state we lived in. I didn't recognize the house we lived in. I didn't recognize any person standing around me. I didn't recognize my clothes, nothing. But Brittany
Mhm.
was there and she looked different, but it was still Brittany. So it orients you, it allows you to hold on to reality
Right.
because without Brittany standing there, without something I recognize in my environment, when I switch forward, I
Right.
can't come back. I can't hold on. My consciousness will leave my body, just like when I was a kid. If I
Right.
switch forward and there's nothing at all in my environment that I recognize, my consciousness will exit. That's what I was made to do. They would put a kid in a room or an environment where they don't recognize visually anything around them. As soon as that happens, it terrorizes and your consciousness leaves your body. So a constant is somebody that's constant enough that when you switch forward, you don't have to recognize anything else. Oh, this bitch is here. My consciousness won't leave my body. I get to stay.
What if you put her photo as your screensaver on your phone so you would remember her? Like,
If I
so,
remembered my phone, then any alters that came forward that remember we have a phone, that would be helpful. And I
yeah.
have. And she is the top contact in my phone. She is, if I hit my phone with my hand at random, she's the only one that'll come up I can text.
Okay. Well,
I
that was
do.
one of my questions. Like, what if an altar comes up that's, is hasn't been around in the past 20 years and doesn't really know that this is what the phone looks like, you know?
That has happened
Yeah.
many times.
Because look how, like, in the past 20 years, like, cell phones just started to come out. They were huge and they were very expensive. And look how now we walk around, all of us walk around with a phone in our hand 24/7, looking at the phone, and it's accepted. It's how we act, right? It's changed our society so much very quickly.
I was used to bag phones even when I was a kid and
Yeah.
satellite phones. Jacob carried around a satellite phone. So I don't even have, I'm 48, I think. And I think so, 47, something like that.
Did
And
you just turn 48?
I don't know. Something like that. But like, I don't have any memories at all. My entire
Yeah.
life is Jacob and John carrying around a satellite phone. So cell phones to me were just big and fat. Now they're smaller. But
Yeah.
They had satellite phones forever. Like these people have had communication for a lot longer
Well,
than everybody thinks.
that is true. Like the rest of us, like it was like such a big deal to get a phone way back when they first came out. Very pricey. It was a big deal. Like you were special, right? And now
Yep.
look at us. It's
Everybody's
crazy.
carrying around the World Wide Web in their pocket,
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Isn't it funny? Wow.
running off of invisible energy nobody can see.
Yeah.
But they believe it.
Yeah,
They believe it.
they believe how Wi-Fi works, but they don't believe a lot of the other non-physical or the tangible, non-tangible
They
things.
believe they have to pay $100 a month to a company to get a message from your body to that phone or to this computer or to a person in California. And it's okay. That's part of their game, you know. And anybody on that editable Wikipedia or Google or Firefox or hell, get a VPN, go over to Africa, use their computers. It's a lot more interesting. Um,
Mm.
you'll go back in time, but also forward in the future. It's really interesting. People should try it out and leave their couches. But you can look it up. It's the 806.24, 802.64, the human body Wi-Fi signal.
There was this is the frequency is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the human biofield. It's the human Wi-Fi signal.
Right.
That's how we get a text from this phone to your phone. It doesn't have anything to do with the cable company or the internet
Oh,
provider you pay.
It's a
It's a
cellular
cellular
device.
telephone.
You have
oh.
cells in your body, right?
Well, tell me more about that. Like now I'm intrigued.
Well, you have cells in your body, don't you?
Yeah.
Me too. So if I think about you and I'm texting in my phone, hey Sue, damn, you looked so great seeing you today. I'm so glad to see you smile. Can we do a show tomorrow? And I hit send. The world thinks that some company you paid $100 just just put that thought and that thing into this hands free. It's not, there's no plug. Put it in this. And somehow this went through the fucking air and landed in your telephone. And we keep paying the bill for it. But they can't explain to you how in the hell that worked. What actually happened is, well, I went inside because Christ is within, and I have cells. They're all in me. And I thought about you in me. So I put you in my cells and I talked to you telepathic. Oh, telephone, telepath. What path to the tele what? Invisible path to the telephone, telepathy. So I just talked to you in my head while typing the message. That put the information inside my cells in my DNA. Well, your cells, because you have that too, also conveniently, if you have a soul, happen to be tuned like a radio station to 802.6. I could look it up out because there's a specific bandwidth and frequency. So what I did is telepathy put you in my cells and then transmitted that through the air to your cells. And you just happen to have a device that picks up that information that went from my cells to your cells and reads it for you.
Biological technology.
It's your biofield.
Wow.
They use a lot of biological sensors and things in your technology. They can read your fingerprint, they can scan your eyes. A lot of biological sensors
Right. Right.
everywhere in
I'm
all of
not
your technology.
disputing that. I I've been thinking about, well, we talked a little bit about Tartaria and the previous civilization. And I have heard that they've had we'll call it Wi-Fi, but again, their technology was different than ours. Like when we think of technology, we think of mechanical. It's got a wire that gets electricity from the wall, right? Which is a whole nother conversation. And we've got mechanical technology, but I think they use more etheric technology. I don't know maybe what the word would be for it.
Etheric.
Etheric. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you know when we first started the show today,
Yeah.
and you were
Yeah.
talking about the name changes and how a
Yeah.
simple name change, all of a sudden you go back and you try to look at the original name and you can't find any information really, so it's buried,
Yeah.
moves
Yeah.
on. Let's bring that forward into what you just said. Okay, their technology in Tartaria, Atlantis, oh blah, I don't care. Their technology was far more advanced than ours, wasn't it? Yes.
I,
And we rely on electricity,
yeah.
and we think that technology means mechanics. All they had to do was take their telepathy that they used and their human Wi-Fi signal that everybody knew about, that was free energy and free transfer of information and full transparency, and their high-tech shit because they used chi and energy and the human biofield, and they used alien tech. It's not alien, it's foreign to you, isn't it? And alien and foreign mean the same fucking thing. Oh, and they can ice all they want to Antarctica. Go ahead and put another ring around it. I'm the ritual bitch and I'll step in the middle and melt it down. And Tartaria is a joke that was buried. So move on to the Terra Infinita. Keep going. There's a lot of rings involved. Okay. But they used their technology back then that was the mind, the body, and spirit aligned. And they went, hey, I know how to take over the world. Let's tell everybody they require fucking machines. Well, how do we do that? I don't know. Plug something into a hole in the wall and tell them that's the only way they can get light. They're stupid. They won't know. I don't know. Sell them $1,000 piece of shit phone that we control. The CIA controls all the information on. Tell them that's the only way they can talk to each other. And better, well, okay, but that won't work, Frank, because they're going to keep fucking talking to each other in their head. We got a plan for that. Tell them if they hear voices in their fucking head, they're crazy. Put them in a loony bin and then sell them the cure for it. So everybody will be afraid of everything they hear. They'll run to a doctor. We can give them poison that shuts off those voices.
Yeah. Yeah. And
What
we've
about the
been,
ones that go au natural? Well, they might still hear it, but they're not going to tell anybody because they'll think they're crazy. And they'll keep
yes.
paying for the boxes to transmit their telepathy through their telephones, through their cellular Wi Fi information. They'll keep giving all their dreams and hopes and thoughts to the computer gods because I am. And then all that happens is we wake up one day and go, yeah, their technology was way higher than ours. Yeah, because they were smarter and all they did was cover it
Yeah.
up with a bunch of language and dumb it down and tell us that we needed mechanics. We needed squares and boxes and cubes and things.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
needed plugging stuff in. We needed oil. We needed to drill in the ground and pull fossil fuels. But we'll teach the world that that doesn't mean the oil comes from the bodies of the dead.
Just dead animals,
Oh,
not
yeah.
humans.
Of course not.
That's all we'll teach you.
No. But when did the animals start burying their people 6 to 12 feet underground? Shit, maybe it was during that last time when they had higher tech. Um, they also think that computers and internet and the email didn't happen until what, the 90s? Shit. Well, I'm 40 what? And I've had an email my whole life. I still
Oh,
have it.
wow.
It's been around a long time.
Well, I've been,
Email, energetic mail.
you've given me something to think about. It's kind of confirmed some suspicions I've already had,
Oh, it's Tower
but
Babel. Television.
yeah.
Tell a lie through a vision.
Yeah.
Telephone.
Yeah.
They're all telepathy. They're all mind. The shit that comes through your television is to fuck up your telepathy and tell a lie to your vision.
Yeah.
And the stuff that comes through your telephone as well. ET phone home. You're just transmitting it to everybody else. They didn't want us to use our telepathy, our energy, our thoughts, our own human Wi-Fi, our own biofield. Why? Because then I could talk to you all day long and they wouldn't know what I was saying to you.
And united we stand. We're
Yeah,
stronger when
because
we're
then you could
together.
tell Brittany what's up, and Brittany could tell me what's up, and I could get a hold of Smarty, and Smarty could call Frank, and Frank could get back a hold of you. We could have dinner at 7, and there wouldn't be anybody on the planet that would know what in the fuck who's talking to who.
Yep. Yep. So we're not controllable. Wow. Yeah.
And
Yep.
they made DID to fracture a person's mind, to build amnesia walls, because the mind of that person, they were about to store all that information in. They didn't want them to know. They didn't want them to tell anyone. And then they buried it in a mental fucking diagnostic manual so that if you ever spoke up, they'd call you crazy.
Yep.
But that's
Yep.
okay.
Wow. This is
Crazy
very
is
deep.
as crazy does.
Yep.
And hell, if I wanted to judge me and my skills, I'll go telepathy to telepathy any day, and I'll still look crazy, less crazy than the people that were convinced they needed $1,000
Yep. There we go.
something in it on.
It's locked up again.
Like, who's crazy?
Yeah.
Y'all go pay PG&E.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So for those that are watching, this is something very deep to ponder. And I think this is coming out anyway, but thank you for saying it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
think I
I
just,
do videos on points in history and things like that. And
yeah,
I've learned so much just asking basic questions. I'm guided to a certain topic. Don't know why. I always know that there's more to it than we've been taught.
of course.
Sometimes I don't ask the right questions, and I'm getting smarter every time I do a video.
I think
So,
you do perfect.
yeah, it is what it is, right?
And it's just like I told you when we first met this morning.
Yeah.
It's been happening and I recognize it. I wake up just full and I'm like, oh, we're about to have a topic and go to work. I'm not sure on what, but let's do it.
I wake up in the middle of the night like oh my God, I got to write this down right now. So I put it in my phone, okay? And because I used to have post-it notes everywhere around the house because I had ideas and messages come to me all the time, right? The thing is we have to remember to put them together sometimes because we don't know
Yes.
what they mean.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So the time, like the time in your life when you used post-it notes all over the place, because I used
Yeah.
to use those too. I still have a lot of they were everywhere. I didn't put stuff in my phone. I put it post-it. So the time that you used to use post-it notes versus the time now when you mainly use your phone,
Yeah.
which period went smoother for you? Post-it note land or phone land?
I think you want me to say post-it note.
No,
That's
no, I just
that's
never
what I
looked at
would
it for me either.
um I had a lot of learning, a lot of learning come through, a lot of information come through during the post-it note or scrap paper,
Oh,
envelope,
the back of a
napkin,
piece of mail.
napkin. I mean,
Yes.
I gotta have this idea right out of my head right now.
Yeah.
I had so much come through.
Yeah.
It was awesome, crazy. Um, I think the phone, you get so wrapped up in opening the phone. We're with an idea. You grab a pen and you're just like scribbling somewhere. Doesn't matter where. And the idea is out of your head. All right. Where with the phone, you gotta, put your passcode in, get the app, blah, 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 blah. It takes a few minutes and the idea could be lost a little bit. But on the other hand, I was trying to be, we'll call it more efficient, not have post-it notes everywhere. So
Hey, me too. Me too.
yeah,
And I never looked at it. See, because
yeah.
I thought post-it notes were harder for me because I'd have to there was so many. But in the phone, it seemed so easy. I could just have like one notepad.
It's kind of a problem because I actually used to put them all in, like I'd have a folder, I just throw all my scrap papers in. And then sometimes the two ideas would, I like, all right, so I'd say, oh, I had this random fragment of a thought. Okay, write it down. Go about 6 months later, something comes and I'm like, oh my God, it connects. Now I see a bigger picture. So it's then going back to find the first thought or phrase or whatever it might be. But I had a lot of learning when I was doing that. Like, especially I'd be in the shower, right? Okay. They say it's the negative ions of water, whatever. You're more relaxed, whatever. I kept notepads in my bathroom and I'd have these amazing ideas or, you know, like things come through, and when I moved a few years ago, I threw all that stuff away. And I don't know if that was a good or bad thing, but I thought, I'll recreate what I need. All right. What I need will come to me. And I think it has, but
It
like
has,
there were some
of
really
course.
good, cool things that I had, you know? Yeah.
It's interesting. And
Yeah.
it's interesting, like you're talking about you'd write it down and then it'd be out of your head. And then 6 months later, a piece would come again. That is exactly like Brittany finding altar pieces. And
Yeah.
she'd get a little piece of information from one, and then it'd go away.
Yeah.
And she'd have to hold on to that little post-it note, you know, or that little piece of information in your mind,
Yeah.
a little, just
Yeah.
hold on to it, that little fragment. And
Yeah.
then 6 months later, there it is.
Yeah.
And it become bigger.
Yeah. And you have to,
Yeah.
there's a little trust involved. So I can tell a story. This is maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Okay. I'm not a good sleeper. I'm asleep and I have post-it notes in the bedroom and the bathroom, but I am, I got a message. I was woken up and given a message and it was like, you know, you've got to get on this. And it was like really urgent. Write this down. Blah, 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 blah. Do it now, 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 now. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was a really strong message. And I'll remember that. Flip over and go back to sleep, right? So the next morning, I go downstairs, I flip on my computer, and then the message comes back. Now it's abbreviated this time. It's not quite as strong, still very urgent. So what had happened is this young girl, I didn't know her, had I had a yoga studio wellness center at the time, and she wrote and said, I need to see somebody, and I knew it intuitively that second that I read it that she needed to see X, Y, and Z person. And I wrote back and gave her like the generic details, you know. And then what about my day? Well, the next morning when I woke up with that urgent message, this is what I wrote, something like this. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I had this message for you. And I just realized that the person that you need to see is going to be at my studio tomorrow. And she offers discounted rates and blah, 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 blah. She'll be here between these hours. And I said, you are to, like, it's very strong that you've got to go see this person tomorrow. Very strong. So I'm getting chills. So she comes into the studio. She goes in with my friend and she's gone in there for like 2, 3 hours, a long time. So she comes out, she leaves. My friend says she was going to commit suicide. So, of course, that was confidential, but like she told me because we were working to help this girl.
Yes.
So, I had seen the girl in the past few years happy, well adjusted, walking around, right? So, I like to think that what we did helped her. But the message was not written down, and I almost forgot it.
Yep.
And it was an extremely strong message. So I'm grateful that it came back to me, right? And I've
And
had
because
experiences like that throughout the last 20, 30 years that I remember. I'm sure there's been some throughout my entire life, but when you follow that intuition and that guidance, you do the right thing, right?
you're the messenger.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just a really long example of Scrap papers work.
Dude, that is a beautiful, perfect example.
Yeah,
That is God walking. That is
yeah,
what that is. That is
yeah,
God walking.
yeah,
God walked right into your mind, right
yeah,
into your dream, right into whatever, and said, "Hey,
yeah, yeah,
hey, do this. I need you to
yeah,
do this. You're the guy for the job."
yeah,
You did.
yeah,
And that person is walking
yeah,
around breathing.
yeah,
That's God walking.
yeah,
God walks everywhere, anywhere, all the where, all the time. Yep.
yeah.
I love that.
I've had book ideas, book titles, phrases, all sorts of things come to me all the time. And like I said, I threw it all into a folder for someday. And then when I moved, I threw the folder away. I was like, oh, I'll recreate what I need. And, you have to trust that you will. But it's better not to forget these little things because it's intuition coming in, right? And we've been trained that okay, the phone, the TV, the magazine, whatever has the truth, right? That what you're getting intuitively is just you making stuff up, right? That's how we're
There you go.
trained. Only the crazy people get that kind of stuff, right?
There you go.
Yeah,
That's exactly what the whole point
yeah,
was.
yeah. And so I've had in my life a lifetime of these experiences that I don't remember everything, but I write these little blogs and I do these videos, and I want people to understand that this stuff is real. Our intuition is real. We're guided to step along the stepping stones, and if we keep an open mind, we can put the pieces together. You
You've
know?
been putting pieces together better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you just got to keep at it and again, keep the open mind and like this is how we talk to each other though. This is not right. I'll say to you, "Well, you might think I'm crazy, but this happened, blah blah blah." Now, who we've had the craziest shit on planet Earth happen to us, right? Respectively. I mean, yours is much more
No, it's equally as
but
crazy. I
we've
don't care. It's
all
a spectrum of nut basket.
we've
Mhm.
had crazy shit happen to us, right? So why are we prefacing everything we say to other people that way? That negates it, right? Who called this crazy? The bad guys did, right? They want
Yeah.
us to keep our peers in line when they have intuition, when they have dreams, when they have premonitions, visions, or beautiful things happen to them and they follow their guidance, we call them crazy because they're not in the box. We need to
Yep.
break the walls of that box down.
During World War II, they used to use neighbors and friends to tell on each other.
Yeah.
If your friend says anything out of the line of the government narrative, tell on them.
Oh, if your friends
Isn't
aren't
that,
wearing a mask or they're
yeah,
not vaccinated or
yeah, tell on them.
they've got a illegal alien immigrant
Tell on
whatever.
them. Yeah.
Yep, call this number.
Isn't that the same? Oh, if anybody says that they can do anything, if anybody
Yeah.
says they remember who they are, what
Yep.
they're capable of,
Yep.
tell on them.
Yeah. So we call them conspiracy theorists, meaning we've already discredited them before we even hear what they've got to say.
Yep.
Not cool, dude. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
We're off on a tangent, but it's been fun.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
needed.
Because to be honest, what you've gone through is extremely heavy, and I can't even imagine. And it takes a lot of courage to get up and think about it and move forward and tell other people. But we're learning from others, we learn by others' examples and their experiences. And by learning, we realize that this is true, it's really happening. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff has been out there a lot longer than we've known about, right? The
Oh, yeah.
bad guys they've been doing stuff to the children for thousands of years, thousands upon thousands, millions, and
Can we
not
get to the
just
part
here.
where everybody standing and breathing today, everybody listening to this show right now, everybody listening to it 10 years from now, everybody listening to it 5 years ago, everybody that's going to listen to it everywhere, can we get to the part where they realize they've been doing this to the children for hundreds of years? So if you are standing here breathing, you are the children. You are the children.
Yeah.
I am an original survivor of wave one. I survived what I survived. Everybody hearing my voice, you're a survivor. You survived. You're standing here. You survived mass mind control. You survived illusions, deceit, living in a matrix, living in a false set narrative. You survived false gods, the corruption of your own
Yeah.
cells,
Yeah.
disease. We're all the children.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
maybe everybody will see what the problem has been, and we'll all stand up for the children.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I see. It feels like a good place to wrap up, but yeah, we have to be aware of what's happening around us. And that's why, I get messages all the time like, why is all this bad stuff happening on the planet? Why do the people have to go through that? It's horrible to witness, horrible. But we have to learn what's happening, how, why, et cetera, so we can prevent it in the future, right? And,
Yes.
and again, we were wiped out whenever it was, a few hundred years ago, I think. And I don't know the exact date. We were wiped out and
Yep.
reprogrammed. Okay.
Brought back
Yeah. And
the
I
Great
am
Reset.
learning. What's that?
The Great Reset.
Yeah. We need to talk more about that. You might know more than I do, but we can't let that happen again. It cannot happen again. All right.
They're trying.
I know they are. They're trying to wipe out the population. We all know that, right? It can't
You know,
happen
they can
again.
only succeed in any reset. They have only ever succeeded in the past, and it can only ever succeed if every breathing member that was here at the last reset, there's not many, but there's always some that remain. They use the ones to reset. They can't reset everything.
Okay, so what are you talking about this with the members from the last reset?
The
You mean
first
the,
time they reset everything, there were 43 people remaining when they reset it that still were aware. There were 43 people from the before that still stood after the reset, and then they reseeded the population with more. Those
okay,
43 were original from before. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Then the next time they reset it, they wiped out everyone, but let's say 10. So 10 walked around still knowing about before. We're still walking around after the reset in the new. Does that make sense?
yeah.
They can only do a reset if they keep a few remaining.
Hmm. Interesting.
They have to have control of the remaining originals.
And for a fact it's 43, like,
No, I know it was 43 the first time
yeah,
that remained. That was a
okay,
long time ago.
yeah, okay.
I know how
Interesting.
many remain now from the last reset. I know how many are standing and breathing now. I grew up with it my entire life.
Okay. Is it something I should ask about, or would that put them in danger?
Them in danger? Those are the people controlling everything we're walking around in.
Oh, you're talking about the bad guys.
Who do you think resets everything?
Dude, all right. So we were not on the same page there. I thought you meant the survivors of the reset. And I was thinking that's a low number, actually.
There are very low, 7 or less survivors of the last reset.
All right. I'm with you now. All right. So people watching this, let's light them up in orange and green right now. Done, done, done.
I'm a survivor of the last wave.
Okay.
I stood
Orange and
before
green.
the reset and I've been standing since.
Okay. Got it. Now, I've just highlighted them so that the angelics and the crew will go pick them up if they're not already picked up. Okay. All right.
Yes,
Good job.
no reset.
All right. No reset. It's not happening anyways, but of course they're trying. Of course they're
Of
trying.
course.
Yeah. Okay. So let us talk again about interesting things.
Constance.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your time and for letting us all know about these. We've gone off on random topics, but it's very interesting, isn't it? Thanks
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
I
We'll talk soon.
appreciate it. Bye-bye.